Back in the day, people had pretty wacky and sometimes dangerous occupations. Jobs that you won't find on any job board today. There were jobs where you had to lug around a hook or even serve as a human alarm clock or amplifier to ensure streetlights were properly and timely lit and people were up on time. Crazy, right? We don't know about you, but we wouldn't have survived that era. This video is about jobs you never thought would have existed. A few of these even shocked us. It was a different world, from hookwielders to skull readers and leech collectors. But hey, as tech and infrastructure evolved, these gigs faded away. It's a wild reminder of how far we've come. Let's get this video started. Number 10. Tunnel Watchman. During the 1900s, railroads were vital for transporting goods across the country, employing thousands of workers, including men, women, and even children. Among those roles, tunnel guards held a particularly challenging position. Their duties varied depending on the railway company and location. For instance, at the New Hamburg Tunnel in New York State, a watchman would punch a time card at one end, inspect the tunnel as they walked to the other side, and then punch their card again upon return. Meanwhile, the Chicago and Northwestern Railway Company employed two guards at opposite ends of the tunnel. They would signal each other when a train approached and were responsible for keeping their section of the tracks clear of obstacles. This was crucial for preventing accidents that could lead to the watchman's injury or death, whether from fires, derailments, or being on the tracks at the wrong time. Watchmen often worked from tiny cabins located at the tunnel's ends. Number 9. Canal Diggers. Although the French began constructing the Panama Canal in the 1800s, the United States took over in 1902 under President Theodore Roosevelt. The primary reasons for the transition were major engineering issues and a vast number of soldiers dying of sickness. Over 2,000 people died while working on the canal for the French. In the United States, around 5,600 more men died. The workers who excavated the canal, armed with almost 100 modern steam shovels, worked long and hard hours, but that wasn't the most dangerous part of the job. Malaria and yellow fever took numerous lives early in the Panama Canal's construction. Initially, medical personnel believed that filthy facilities and poor air quality caused the epidemics. However, during the early 1900s, doctors discovered that mosquitoes spread these infections. To lower mosquito populations, efforts were undertaken to remove breeding areas and standing water. Number 8. Sprager. In coal mining areas, the quickest kids were hired as Spragers. These brave youths carried long pieces of wood called sprags, while keeping pace with mining vehicles on the slopes. Their job was to poke these sprags into the wheels of the cars to slow them down and prevent them from derailing. But it was risky work. Accidents were common, with fingers often getting pinched or lost. Sometimes the vehicles would fly off the rails, posing a danger to the kids and anyone nearby. Many youngsters tragically lost their lives in collisions or by electrocution from touching electric tram lines. Number 7. Knocker-upper or knocker-ups. Who would have thought that there was a whole profession dedicated to waking people up before alarm clocks were reliable or even existed? Say hello to the knocker-uppers. Their job was precisely what it sounds like. They'd tap on windows or doors to rouse folks from their slumber, all in exchange for a fee. Believe it or not, being a knocker-upper was considered a respectable gig back in the day. It attracted older folks, both men and women, and it all started during the Industrial Revolution. Alarm clocks were a luxury item back then, and not everyone could afford one. Plus, they weren't always dependable. With the rise of shift work during the Industrial Revolution, there was a growing demand for reliable wake-up calls. Thus, the knocker-upper was born. It's pretty wild to think about how something as familiar as the alarm clock created an entire job market. It shows just how much things have changed over the years. Number 6, lamplighter. Now that we've talked about knocker-uppers, the idea of another unusual job might not seem so strange. Take the lamplighter, for example. Their job was to make sure streetlights were lit up at night and turned off in the morning. In the early 1800s, electric light bulbs and streetlights weren't a thing. Electricity itself needed to be more widely understood. Instead, cities like London relied on gas lighting for safety reasons. And that's where the lamplighter came in. They'd light up the gas lamps every evening and put them out at dawn. It was all about keeping the streets safe and illuminated. So, yeah, the introduction of electricity eventually made this job obsolete. Funny how things change, huh? Number 5, switchboard operator. When telephones became more common in the mid-20th century, jobs like switchboard operators and party line operators existed. Let's break it down. Party lines were shared phone lines used by multiple households, with each home having a unique ring pattern to identify incoming calls. So, if your mom called, everyone on your party line would hear the ring, but only you would answer. Switchboard operators came into play when you needed to call someone outside your party line. They connected your call by plugging a pair of phone plugs into the right jacks on a switchboard. Pretty neat, huh? However, as technology advanced, individual phone lines became more affordable than party lines. Then automation took over, and switchboard operators were gradually phased out, first in local calls, and eventually in long-distance calls too. It just goes to show how quickly things change in the world of technology. Number 4, funeral myologist. In the 19th century, funerals were a big deal, often serving as a status symbol and a sincere goodbye. Wealthy families would hire professional mourners, known as myologists, to enhance their image and add to the occasion's solemnity. Undertakers often employed somber-looking individuals as hired mourners, a practice even featured in Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist. However, by the 1900s, the trend of paying people to fake their grief fell out of favor. It's not surprising. Authenticity tends to win out in the end. Number 3, aircraft listener. Britain relied heavily on its military ears to detect incoming enemy planes during World War I. These keen listeners used some pretty unconventional gadgets to aid their efforts. One such gadget was the war tuba, designed to channel the sound of approaching aircraft engines into a single set of headphones for easier detection. Another innovation was using sound mirrors, giant concrete discs strategically placed to reflect and focus sound waves into a central point where a microphone could pick them up. However, by World War II, the Royal Air Force had developed radar, a game-changing technology that helped fend off the Luftwaffe during the Battle of Britain. It's fascinating how military technology evolved over such a short period. From war tubas to radar, innovation played a crucial role in shaping the outcomes of these conflicts. Number 2, Leech Collector. Imagine trudging through icy water, willingly offering up your legs as bait for blood-sucking leeches. That's what leech collectors did back in the day. They'd roll up their pants, let the critters latch onto their exposed skin, then pluck them off and sell them to doctors for bloodletting and other medical treatments. Historically, leeches were believed to cure all ailments, from earaches to hemorrhoids. But the collectors themselves paid a heavy price for their trade. Many fell ill from blood loss or infections caused by the leeches. To make matters worse, by 1900, the only type of blood-sucking leech native to Britain, the Hirudo medicinalis, had been wiped out by over-collecting. Fortunately, as medical knowledge advanced, leeches fell out of favor. their supposed benefits were more limited than previously believed. This is a reminder of how quickly perceptions and practices in medicine can change over time. Number 1. Bindery Girl. In the early 1900s, women faced harsh conditions in the workplace just like men. Bindery girls, employed by book publishers to sew pages, worked in hazardous environments like mills. Initially, all work was done by hand, but with the introduction of machinery, the risk of injury increased. In a tragic incident reported in the Los Angeles Herald in 1908, a bindery girl named Frida Stahl had her fingers caught in the rollers of a folding machine. Luckily, her co-workers intervened just in time to prevent further injury, but she still suffered severe damage to 2 fingers. Despite the dangers, bindery girls earned only around $15 weekly for a grueling 48 hours of work. It's a stark reminder of the sacrifices and risks many workers faced in pursuing employment during that era. And that's a wrap. Let us know which job you thought was the oddest of all. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to more videos like it. See you in the next video.